Why else do we get mind-body syndromes? Why else can we not heal and break out of this cycle of chronic pain and chronic health issues? Fear of symptoms. This one can be tricky because a lot of you, if I said, are you afraid of your back problems? Like, no, not really. There's some people have very obvious fears surrounding their symptoms, which is totally expected and normal. And others like, I'm not that afraid. But what you're going to learn is even trying to make them go away, focusing on them, checking to see if they're still there. I've been journaling for 30 days. I've been doing all these things to make them go away. They're still there. When we focus on them, focus and attention, the more you focus and the more you give a life to your chronic health issues. Every time you fixate on them, you are inadvertently reinforcing the neural circuits associated with those symptoms, which amplifies their presence and keeps the whole syndrome going. Focus and attention reinforce that there's a problem, reinforce danger in the brain and nervous system. So much of why we end up with these chronic health issues is because we get a symptom, back pain, insomnia, terrifying. Who wants to night after night be tortured by not being able to sleep? Some of these health issues terrified me. I had so much fear. Fear is one of the main causes of nervous system dysregulation. So part of healing, we'll get into this, is breaking that fear symptom cycle. That's what mind-body syndromes are in a nutshell. So fear of pain and symptoms. Every time we fear them, we're reinforcing those neural circuits that are causing them. Fear can also look like, excessive worry, self-imposed pressures, the self-criticism. There's so many things that cause fear within the body. We're going to get into that a little bit more when we get into the steps to heal, but just know that fear and focus and attention and fixating on your symptoms are part of why the brain and nervous system are perceiving a threat. Worry is a really big one. Worry looks different for everybody. Is there more you could be doing for your health? Is this the right program? Is this the right health practitioner? Is this the right diet? Worrying about what others think about you. So-and-so think I'm weird that I'm doing this work, that I'm eating this way. Worrying about a boss or a friend that, what do they think of me? Do they not like me? Worrying about your diet. Is this the right diet for me? Should I be eating different? There's so many ways that we worry all day long, contributing to this nervous system dysregulation. Putting too much pressure on ourselves. Really common cause. Constant striving. You're never enough. You need to look a certain way. You need to be seen a certain way. You need to act a certain way. Somehow the goals that you're having, you're striving, whatever it is, it's you're never enough. You don't look quite right. You're not smart enough. You're lacking intelligent, who knows what it is. You're never enough. You're constantly putting pressure on yourself. What kind of internal environment do you think that creates? One of danger. Another contributor to mind-body syndromes, and a really common one, and part of why we prioritize the emotional detox in New You, is unconscious stressors. When we look at our total stress load, we have conscious stressors, right? These are like finances, our health issues, our relationship, the fact that we don't want to be a teacher anymore, the fact that we're tired of being a mom. These are our conscious stressors. And we know stress is impacting our health. But unconscious stressors make up 90% of our total stress load or more. So 5 to 10% of our brain is our conscious mind, And the other 90 to 95% is our unconscious mind. So we're aware of all the stressors in the world. We're aware of how hard it is to be a human on planet Earth right now. But what is affecting your health most and contributing to your chronic health issues, even more than your conscious stressors, which we've all got plenty of, is your unconscious stressors. And one of the things in that category that makes up the bulk of your unconscious stressors is your repressed emotions. Suppression of our authentic selves, we know, causes disease. Why? Because when we repress our emotions, it triggers the fight or flight nervous system. So we're constantly avoiding these emotions, whether it's conscious or unconscious, we'll get to that. We are keeping our body stuck in a state of fight or flight, breaking down faster than it can repair itself. Why don't we heal? Why won't these gut issues go away? You're never getting into rest and repair. You're not getting into a parasympathetic nervous system state. You're stuck in a sympathetic dominant state, stuck in threat physiology where the body is literally breaking down faster than it can repair itself. Repressed emotions are one of the main contributors to chronic health issues. It's really sad that the whole world doesn't know this because, again, if you don't, you could be doing all of the things, but if you have these emotions that are triggering your fight or flight nervous system, keeping you stuck in a state of dysregulation, you won't be able to heal. We're going to get more into why we repress our emotions. Some common ways that we end up repressing our emotions. Again, some of it is conscious. You just don't want to feel this painful stuff. Who wants to feel this shame of never being enough? I don't. Painful. We're living in a world where we're taught at a very young age to avoid our true feelings. Hey, don't cry. You're okay. Don't cry. You don't need to cry. Well, if we're taught at a young age to not feel, we're going to grow up thinking that not feeling is the way to be. We don't understand oftentimes until we're sick that part of suppressing our true feelings is actually what's causing our symptoms. So whether it's conscious or unconscious, we're generating this constant emotional suppression. Okay, let's talk about some of the other common ways that we repress our emotions. There's a lot of negative self-talk and self-criticism that causes repressed emotions. We have this constant internal dialogue. We're going to get a little bit more into our inner critic, but when we have this constant criticism and nothing's ever good enough, and we're constantly generating this shame, we are causing a ton of repressed emotions to build up. Sometimes we know that if we looked at whatever it was and we processed it, it would just be too much. And so instead of doing that, we pick up our phone, we jump on Instagram, we scroll, maybe we drink it away, maybe we go run it away and exercise, maybe we shop it away, whatever coping mechanism you've used to keep you from feeling. The next time you're going to do one of those really common things, scrolling, shopping, check in with yourself. What might be here now that I might be avoiding? And see if there's something there. Once we can understand and identify and start to observe our tendencies and how we're repressing emotions, then we can stop the repression of emotions. When it comes to moving the body back into rest and repair, few things are more important. So we start to become very, very savvy. We start to really understand that these are my tendencies, these are my personalities, these are the different ways in which I typically repress based off of who I am and how I've learned how to do things in my life. When we really understand those, I'm very aware of mine. So when I have a symptom pop up, headache, something going on, feel anxious, I can feel my nervous system's I know exactly where to look. I know myself. I know my personality traits. I know my tendencies. Oh, that right there. I have been putting so much pressure on myself again. No wonder I have this horrible neck ache. No wonder I have a headache. Process it. God, it is tough to feel like you are never enough. When I acknowledge that, and it's not stuck down here, boiling and sizzling and triggering my fight or flight nervous system, I let it up and out. It moves through and beyond. My symptom goes away. Remember, your symptoms are often there to distract you. So if you get a symptom, what might be down here? Check in. Okay. So there's lots of ways we repress our emotions, and I highly recommend becoming very familiar with the list that I will send you and your own tendencies. Society also says, is another reason that mind-body syndromes are so common, that pain and symptoms, chronic pain and chronic health issues, are somehow more acceptable than having mental and emotional pain. Sometimes it's easier to talk about, to not be embarrassed about, to receive love, attention, and care for, God, I've just had this chronic shoulder pain for so long, and everyone knows that I'm the girl with shoulder pain that can't throw, and everyone knows that, and maybe I get love and sympathy, and maybe that's part of the equation for me, and maybe it's not, it doesn't matter. It's more acceptable to have physical issues, a diagnosis, something physical happening, than saying, oh, she actually has a lot of emotional pain, a lot of stress and anxiety, a lot of unresolved trauma. So that's why she has shoulder pain. People don't view the world that way. They don't make that connection, which is a huge part of why there's so many people struggling to get better. We're not addressing the cause. We're overlooking the cause. We're looking past the fact that our mental and emotional health, our mind, is having a massive impact on our physical body. So it's another reason we end up with these diagnoses, these labels, these syndromes. Society says it's more acceptable to have something physical going on with you. Okay, what else? I'm just going to scroll down here. Obsessive thinking in the analytical mind. I was working with a mind-body practitioner, a renowned mind-body practitioner during my recovery. And we were talking about thinking. And he said, Kate, most mind-body syndromes are caused by an obsessive thinking tendency, disorder, whatever you want to call it. He said, I'm not calling you crazy. You're not crazy. I'm not saying you have a mental illness. But thinking is where so much of our fear and our nervous system dysregulation is coming from. When we are thinking, analyzing, always looking for the how and the why, this is interpreted, this constant need to detect and avoid danger, as a threat. We're stuck in this constant state of overthinking, trying to figure out this constant state of hypervigilance. And the nervous system is receiving this constant signal of danger. Remember, those danger signals are what stimulate the circuitry in the brain that is responsible for your pain and your chronic health issues. Now, there's a lot of you out there that have a very active thinking mind, constantly thinking, analyzing, solving, lots of different, what a lot of you call repetitive thoughts, thought loops, where I just can't turn my brain off. And a lot of that thinking is fear-based. Our thinking or our psychology is equal to our physiology. So when our physiology, our nervous system is dysregulated, our breathing is off, we have tension in our body, our heart is beating rapidly, maybe we're sweating. So with all this dysregulated physiology, that affects the way that we think. The brain is constantly reading the body. When we think about the brain and the body and the communication between the two, 80% of the communication between the brain and the body is going from the body to the brain. So when we have this constant nervous system dysregulation, this constant threat physiology within our bodies, it changes the way we think. The brain is reading the body through a process called interoception, and it is saying, whoa, danger, danger, danger. There's tension, there's weird breathing patterns, there's sweating, there's all of this dysregulated physiology. That is going to change the way that we think. And we're going to go from maybe a more relaxed, calm brain, a brain that's in a lower wave state, to a very aroused, hypervigilant, high beta brain state, because the brain is reflecting the body. So this obsessive thinking, this constant analyzing, this constant how and why, keeps the body stuck in a state of hypervigilance, contributing to nervous system dysregulation. Now, what I want you to know is that a lot of you became thinkers as a way to avoid feeling. If you're a very sensitive person, or maybe you experienced a trauma at a young age and it was so much to be with your body, to be with that emotion, to be with those feelings, the easiest way to cope is to go up in your head and think. Escape in your head. It's an escape. To try to solve the problem that you're feeling in your body. Thinking is a way to cope. So you may have been doing this for a really long time. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, but just recognize that it may be a coping mechanism that's no longer serving you. Because as long as we're thinking, as long as we're up here, we can't be feeling. If we're not feeling, we're suppressing. What does suppression cause? Nervous system dysregulation. So many people, so many of you with chronic pain, with chronic health issues, are thinkers. You think all the time. Sometimes you can't stop. You want to know how and why, and you're always trying to. That is registered as, whoa, there's something, there's a threat in your environment. You're constantly scanning and looking for danger. You're constantly stuck in a state of hypervigilance. So what you'll learn in this program, what you'll learn with this workshop, what you'll learn in the New You program, is that when you start to learn how to balance your physiology, be with it, stay with it, instead of going up to think, to escape, but to feel. To learn how to feel again. That is a skill that does take practice. That's why we do the emotional detox, and we practice it. You're going to find that you start to think less. And if you can think less, you're not going to generate as much fear, because most of our thoughts are equal to the state of our dysregulated physiology. We're going to talk about the difference between thinking and thought. There's a really big difference. And when we get into the steps to heal, I want you to really pay close attention for those of you that are thinkers. Why else do we end up with chronic health issues? Your body is trying to somehow offer you safety. Your chronic headaches might be getting you out of a situation that is scary, is dangerous, you don't want to be in. The example, the woman in the beginning of the live who asked about, I'm a school teacher, I don't want to do it anymore, and my back problems are they're at their worst when I'm doing it anyways, without, I have all the shame and guilt and I'm not acknowledging that. Why does our body cause these symptoms? Your body is not fighting against you. It's not unintelligent. It's trying to help you. And if you understand what it's trying to communicate, it wants you to, one, tell the truth and process your emotions. And two, if we did set healthy boundaries, if we did take care of ourselves and get our needs met, our body wouldn't have to do these things to create safety. I don't want a headache. I don't want chronic gut issues. But if I'm not setting these healthy boundaries and getting my needs met and processing my emotions and doing the internal work to create an environment that is safe and whole and healthy, my body is going to continue to speak to me through symptoms. Kate, you're not setting boundaries. I'm still needing to protect you by putting you in bed with this migraine because it's too much for you to be at your job where you're not setting boundaries. You're not being heard. You're not taking care of yourself. So much of why you have these symptoms is it is your body's way of trying to help you in some way, shape, or form. A really powerful question is, how are these symptoms somehow keeping me safe? What we sometimes start to put together and sort of connect the dots is that, wow, this all started when my dad passed away, or when this big life event happened, and all of a sudden your body said, here you go, here's a distraction. Here you go, here's something to get you out of that dangerous situation, out of that painful situation. Here is something to help you so that you don't have to feel the intensity of those emotions. Your body is always trying to help you. Oftentimes we end up with chronic health issues because we somehow find comfort when we identify as a sick person. Sometimes these diagnoses, well, I have a bulging disc, well, I have SIBO, well, I have allergies, well, I have depression. These tangible explanations offer us a lot of comfort. We might not feel so embarrassed to share them with people, and they become part of who we are. They become part of our identity. And rather than feeling like we're crazy, we'd rather say, well, the doctor said I had this, this, and this, so that's why I have pain. So often with chronic health issues, mind-body syndromes, when we see doctors, they're going to do testing and they're going to go in, and the first thing that they see, they're going to say that is the cause. Well, I'm just saying that if a bulging disc or some of these things that they're saying is the cause was the cause of all pain, almost everybody would be in pain. Almost everybody would have gut issues. Almost everybody would have headaches. It's not. Science has come so far since this medical model of joint abnormalities equal pain. We have come so far. We know these things aren't true. But sometimes it's easier to have the identity of, well, I just have back pain. I have, SIBO, so no wonder. Why? Why are you sick and why haven't you healed? The body heals. And if it doesn't, it's because the nervous system is dysregulated. Why else do we end up with chronic health issues? We have too many high alert habits. Hello, modern day life. Constant bombardment of horrific, terrifying, devastating news. A phone that doesn't stop. Friends, texting, incoming, social media, constant bombardment of information and incoming. Our brain and nervous system were not designed to be able to withstand all of this all the time. When we are stuck in this state of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? We're waiting for the next ball to drop. Again, contributing to dysregulation, contributing to a constant state of threat physiology. We're rushing through our days. We're scheduling too much in our days. We're not taking the time to slow down, to be quiet, to get outside, to learn proper breathing patterns, to really do the things that show, not just tell, but show our nervous system that we're safe. So we're going to get into the steps to heal. But so many of you right now are going to feel overwhelmed with that is my life. I have all these high alert habits. I've got busyness and kids and schedule. I have a lot of stress in my life. And what you're telling me is I need to heal my nervous system in order to get better. I'm not. My nervous system was not fully healed when all of my symptoms went away. My life is still full of stress. We cannot eliminate the stressors in our life so much. Sure, we can set healthy boundaries and we can prioritize our breathing and meditation. There's so much we can do, But so much of the stress that we're exposed to on a regular basis is entirely out of our control. So I want you to know that you do not have to eliminate the stress in your life, nor is that the goal, nor is it even possible. And trying to eliminate the stress in your life is going to cause a whole lot more stress in your life. Now we're stressing over stress, which I've done before. No, you don't have to eliminate the stress in your life, but you're going to have to learn how to acknowledge it, be completely aware of it, and process it. Because without doing that, you're going to repress it. You're going to be moving through life so quickly, or maybe just not understanding the importance of taking the time to process it. And it's going to show up in your body as fight or flight, nervous system dysregulation, or chronic health issues. It's not about trying harder. It's not about, I just got to be stronger, more positive, gripping tighter. Healing is about creating more safety. When your nervous system feels safe, your symptoms will go away. The reason you're here today with chronic pain or chronic health issues is because for some reason, and probably multiple, you don't feel safe. Are you rushing through the day? Are you bombarded with this stuff? Are you not processing your emotions? Are you a highly sensitive people pleaser, put a lot of pressure on yourself? Who knows? All the tendencies that you might have that is constantly contributing to this environment, this internal environment that lacks safety. Your symptoms are here to alert you, to invite you into deeper healing. Because once you heal and feel safe, your health issues are going to go away.